गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Jnaneshwari Bhavartha Deepika. We are in the 18th chapter, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga, and in this we are on the 51st OV, and we were looking one topic in introduction to the topic, not introduction to the topic. He began the 18th chapter by showing his gratitude to his teacher and and the words that and the examples that he used were bringing to our cognition or to his cognition, because he is speaking, that it's best not to say anything. Silence is the best salutation, the best gratitude that one can give his or express towards his teacher. And in that manner, and then he talked about the greatness of the Gita, and also he said that everyone has access to this salvation. None is left out. We have to put the attention. We have to make that choice. Just like the sun is shining, we have to make the choice to be exposed to the sun or not. Bhagavad Gita is that river of knowledge. We have to take the dip. She doesn't have to take the dip. We have to take the dip in this river of knowledge and be one with it. Whenever a wave takes a dip into the ocean, it is one with the ocean. It loses its identity. With that bhava, therefore this is called Bhavartha Deepika. So with that bhav, you take a dip, you engage with Bhagavad Gita, so that we lose our jivahood, we lose our identity as an individual. And with that introduction, he asked the teacher, now he says, and when the teacher told him enough of it, how many times I have to tell you, now he starts. He says, in the 50th OV, he said, now I shall explain to you how this chapter is linked with chapter 17. And then he says, in the 51st he said, का गंगा यमुना उदक वो घबगे बेगलिक दावी होनी एक पानी पने. Even though the currents of river Ganga and Yamuna are different, they are one because of their common element water. And with that davi honi eka. So we also have to be one with the Jivatma, has to be one with the Paramatma. So we must not seek Ganga and Yamuna. Ganga is very holy. Yamuna is also very holy. But is their holiness greater than being the one water? That is the question that we have to ask. We are not, just because we are talking about water does not mean that we are diminishing their importance as holy rivers. Similarly, when we talk about Brahman, when we talk about one without a second reality, when we talk about the substratum, we do not reduce the importance of or the greatness of the Ishvara. We do not. The totality. We do not. But one must be very clear. Now that we are in the 18th chapter, one must be clear where our attention is. Is our attention, as our Ishavasya Upanishad says, is it on Sambhuti or Asambhuti? Is it on form manifest or it is on unmanifest? Or is our attention on the essence on which the manifest and the unmanifest are playing their Leela? And that's what Jnaneshwar Maharaj is telling here. Now he continues. He says, न मोडिता दोन्ही आकार घडिले एक शरीर हे अर्धनारी नटेश्वर रूपी दिसे नाना वाढिली दिवसे कळा बिंबी पैसे परी सिनाने लेवे जैसे चंद्री नाही तैसी सिनानी चारी पदे श्लोक तो श्लोकावच्छेदे अध्यावो अध्याय भेदे गमे कीर परिप्रमेयाची उजरी आनान रूप न धरी नाना रत्नमणि दोरी एकची जैसी. He says, where are we? In the case of Lord Shiva in the form of half male and half female, Ardhanarishwara, although the male and female forms have distinctive features, they have one and the same body. And next, another example he is taking, and there he says, the phases of the moon go on increasing during the bright half of the lunar month, yet they do not appear distinct in the full moon. So, although the stanzas appear different of their four parts and the chapters appear different because of their different stanzas, they form a unity in regards to their import. Just as the thread on which gems are woven is the same, or the necklace made up of many pearls has the same luster, or the flowers and their wreaths can be counted on fingers, but not so their fragrances, so is the case with the stanzas and the chapters, chapters, that is, they point to the same common truth. So, in all these examples, Jnaneshwar Maharaj is bringing our attention to the indivisible essence behind each. Ornaments are many, gold is one, waves are many, water is one, waves and oceans are many, still water is the essence. Similarly, Ardhanarishwar, Shiva and Shakti seem to be separate, but actually they are none other than the Paramashiva. And then what other example? The moon, the various kalas, the 16 kalas of the moon are, but the moon is one. See, moon doesn't reduce and increase in size, but it is seen that way, isn't it? But the substratum is ever the same. What is the substratum? The moon. What you are visualizing is the reflection of the moon. Reflection of the moon is not the moon. Just like for the wife, the reflection of the man is called husband. For the mother, the reflection of the man is called son, and so on. But man is ever complete. See, it's a different approach altogether. Just thinking in this manner, we become contemplative. Immediately our attention goes to the indivisible principle, and that we are. So here Jnaneshwar Maharaj is bringing our attention to the Bhagavad Gita. Chapters may be many, the themes may be many, every chapter is having a different heading. Somewhere it is Karma Yoga, somewhere it is Karma Sannyas Yoga, somewhere it is Dhyana Yoga, somewhere it is Bhakti Yoga, somewhere it is Akshara Brahma Yoga, somewhere it is Purushottam Yoga, somewhere it is Gunatita Yoga, and so many different Shraddha Traya Vibhag Yoga, Vibhuti Yoga. But what is the substratum? What is the substratum of all the words that are written in this book? Paper. What is the substratum of all the papers on which, how many pages on this? So many pages. So many pages are there. Number is not given. Oh, at the bottom it's given. $787, $790. So what is the substratum of all the pages? Is every page different? It seems to be different, but it is paper. And what is paper made up of? There are so many paper in this world, but what is the substratum of this paper? Wood. See? So many limbs are there in our body, but body is one. So many roles we are playing, but the person, Jivatma, is one. It is our misunderstanding which has to be corrected. For that no sadhana is required. For that no sadhana is required. Then what is required? Intelligence is required. Change in our notion about ourselves is required. We are essentially of the nature of Brahman, Paramatma, considering ourselves to be Jivatma, individual. Where there is Jivatma, there alone Paramatma is. Accept it. And nobody till today has realized. Nobody has gained liberation till today. Even Mahatmas. Why? The nature itself is of liberation. Just as if we say, sun has never given sunlight to anyone. Because from sun's point of view, there is nothing called sunlight. So, from our point of view, there is nothing called liberation. We are talking about liberation only because our attention is on the bondage. Our attention is on the changing. So we want liberation from the changing to the permanent. So here Jnaneshwar Maharaj is bringing us that don't get lost in concepts, don't get lost in ideas, don't get lost in various thoughts concepts that are presented within the Bhagavad Gita. Our attention must be on the essence. Our attention must be on the substratum. And that how do we become attentive towards the substratum? By being subjective. You cannot be subjective when you are reading a book. If your attention is on the book, you cannot be subjective. Because your focus is on the book. You cannot be subjective if your attention and focus and importance and value giving is on the teacher and on the words that are being heard. You cannot go to sleep if all your attention value giving is on the objects of the world or the projects of the world. You will not go to sleep. Only when you exclusively become available to the sleep, thinking of the sleep, contemplating on the sleep, then get absorbed in the sleep. Automatically the world drops away. Same way, until unless we don't. And when will you become available to the sleep? When you become convinced sleep is necessary. So be convinced that the self, being the self, is necessary, not realizing the self. Till today, nobody has come to know the self. Why do you say that? Because who wants to know the self? Jivatma. And when Jivatma merges, is absorbed, is realized, if we say, comes to abide in his natural state, then will he say, oh, now I am liberated because all bondage is gone? No. When he looks back, he sees himself only. There is nothing else apart from him. So as a seeker, as a student of the Bhagavad Gita, our attention must remain on the substratum, and whatever studying we are doing is to remove the misunderstanding that we have about ourselves. The wrong notions that we have cultivated, जो गलत धारणाएं हमने अपने मन में पाल के रखी हैं, वो सब दूर करनी है. That's where the Bhagavad Gita is helping us. And when everything, all the wrong notions are removed in toto, there you are. There you are. Or the necklace made up of many pearls has the same luster, or the flowers and their wreaths can be counted on fingers, but not so their fragrance. So is the case with the stanzas and the chapters. Flower doesn't know his fragrance. Other people come and appreciate. Just like flower doesn't come to know its own fragrance. Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam. Shiva is of the nature of Sugandhim. What is that Sugandhim? The nourishing capacity, the auspiciousness, the blessedness. Such Mahatmas who are the essence, who have come, who are abiding in themselves as the self. Their nature is that of blessedness and auspiciousness. They don't say, come, I'll give you auspiciousness. Come, I'll give you blessings. Come, flower doesn't say, come, I'll give you fragrance. It's the nature of the flower to give fragrance. "56th मोतिये मिळोनी बहुवे एकावळीचा पाडू आहे परिशोभे रूप होये एकची तेथ फुला फुलसरा लेख चढे द्रुती दुजी अंगुळी न पडे श्लोक अध्याय तेणे पाडे जाणावे हे 700 श्लोक अध्याया 18 लेख परिदेवो बोलिले एक से दुजे नाही." हाणी म्याही न सांडूनी ते सोये ग्रंथ व्यक्ती केली आहे प्रस्तुत तेने निर्वाहे निरूपण ऐका तरी 17वा अध्यावो पावता पुरता ठावो जे संपता श्लोकी देवो बोलिले ऐसे. He says here that that is the point of the same common truth. The Gita consists of 700 shlokas, verses divided into 18 chapters, but the theme taught by the God is the same without any difference. We may be calling it karma yoga or bhakti yoga or jnana yoga or dhyana yoga or purushottam yoga, but from the first chapter till the end of the last chapter, the theme is one alone. The theme is Paramatma. Theme is the Brahman. Theme is the one without a second principle. Just like when we are talking about east, west, north, south, southeast, southwest, northeast, northwest, we are talking about space, isn't it? And space is infinite. Can all the directions put together be equal to the total space? Not possible. Can all the limbs put together be the body? No. There are so many other organs inside the body also, not only the outside limbs that you see. Can all the knowledge put together equal to self? No, it cannot be. As convinced as you may be. So self is self-existing. Paramatma, Brahman, self, Atma, it is self-existing. And that self-existing principle, that essence, is the theme behind all these words of the Bhagavad Gita. Because these words came from that Divine Lord Himself, who knows who He is. Who knows who He is? Who has sorted out Him? He knows. He has got no doubt as to His existence. We have doubt about our existence. Am I a husband? Am I a son? I am a sannyasi. I am a grahastha. I am a Brahman. I am a Kshatriya. I am in Australia. I am in India. I am a Telugu. I am a Marathi. I am a Kannada. I am from Fiji. I am from Australia. We are confused. Our only identity is that we are, that's it, full stop. The moment we add something to it, we have lost the plot. So here Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying that the Gita consists 700 verses divided into 18 chapters, but the theme taught by the God is the same without any difference. Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying, I have given the exposition of the Gita without departing from its meaning, from his meaning. I am now explaining the 18th chapter also on the same lines. So Jnaneshwar Maharaj is reiterating the fact that till now whatever he has told with innumerable examples and his own unique way, he has never deviated from the fact that the essence is. The attempt of Jnaneshwar Maharaj is to help us, guide us, cajole us to recognize that we are that essential self. People get into erudition, people get into logic. Oh, this Bhagavad Gita, this is Bhavartha Dipaka. You know, I have studied Adi Shankara's commentary. That is great, fantastic. I have read Madhusudan Saraswati's commentary. That is fantastic. I have read this. They start comparing. In that comparison, you are not going to get anything. You are only in the intellect. It's the intellectual diarrhea. Our attention while listening to this whole thing should be on the essence. At the end of chapter 18, the Lord had said, what did he say? Where are we? 61st. अर्जुना ब्रह्मनामाच्या विखी बुद्धी सांडूनी आस्तिकी कर्मे की जती तितुकी असते होती. हा ऐकोनी देवाचा बोलू अर्जुना आला डोळू म्हणे कर्मनिष्ठा मळू ठेविला देखो. तो अज्ञानाधूत भापुडा ईश्वरूची न देखे एवढा. तेथ नामची एक पुढा का सुझे तया. आणि रजतमे दोन्ही गेलिया वीण श्रद्धासानी. ते का लागे अभिधानी ब्रह्माची ये. मग कोता खेव देणे वार्तेवरील धावणे. सांडी पडे खेळणे नागिणीचे ते. He says, he says the Lord, what the Lord has said. What did the Lord say? O Arjuna, any actions performed without uttering the name of Brahman prove worthless. What do we understand from this? That any actions performed without uttering the name of Brahman. What did we see in the 17th chapter? When actions are performed by the ignorant, what they should chant? Om Tat Sat. Isn't it? The more we perform actions that I am doing the actions, I want this result, then we are going away from the essence. When all actions are performed with inspiration, with joy, actions should be an expression of joy. Not by doing this action I will get joy. When I speak on Bhagavad Gita, then I am happy. No. The commentary of the Bhagavad Gita out of this person is the expression of the joy that is inherent. That should be our attitude. That should be our disposition. See? And if that is not the case, go one step back. What is that? Perform every action as an offering to the divine, remembering the divine before, during and after. That's what Bhagavan is. We saw that in the towards the end of the 17th chapter. Hearing these words of the Lord, Arjuna felt happy. He thought that it was good that the Lord disparaged the activist, meaning the war. Arjuna is feeling happy that Lord Krishna is hitting the ego, the doer. Activist is the doer. Poor fellow, blinded by ignorance, he could not realize God. Then how could he know the secret of the name of Brahman? As long as we are lost, this is not to judge other people, this is for our self-assessment. As long as we are lost in Putreshna, Vitteshna, Lokeshna, as long as we are lost in the desire for the progeny, desire for wealth and desire for name and fame, studying Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, etc., appreciation will be there, intellectual appreciation will be there, but abidance will not come. Why? Mind is corrupted with the Eshanas. With yoga and all, yoga, pranayama, etc., kundalini, etc., what is done? Body disidentification. Body disidentification. By bhakti, what is done? From karma yoga, the result of karma yoga is body disidentification. Purification leads to body disidentification. But is that the end game? No. Then what's next? Bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is not about proving God is. Bhakti yoga is dissolution of the Jivatma. And what is Gyan Yoga then? Gyan Yoga is realizing that this Jivatma in its essence is none other than infinite Brahman. This is the process. Does not mean that one is higher or one is lower. Nothing to do. Without Karma Yoga you cannot purify. Without thinking of the higher you cannot dissolve. See? And until unless the first two steps are not done, till then we will not be able to even appreciate the thoughts of Brahman. Even the thought of Brahman cannot be appreciated. It will be just another word. Even why Brahman, even Atma. Yes, I know I am Atma. That is not equal to knowing Atma. Then it's only a lip service, because purification is not there. So long as the qualities of Rajas and Tamas are not got rid of, his faith remains feeble. This is what I was just now saying. Karma, Bhakti and Jnana. Unless Rajas and Tamas. Karma is done to shoot out of the Tamas. Upasana, Bhakti is done to shoot out of or transcend Rajas. And Jnana is pursued, engaged with, to transcend Sattva. Now with this understanding, now work towards it. Don't get, he's Sattvic, he's Tamasic, today I am Rajasic, at night I am Tamasic. Get out of all that. I am nobody and yet I am everybody, everywhere. I am one without a second. That we have to come to. By making these type of statements, this is Tamasic fellow, that is Rajasic fellow, I am Tamasic, we are enhancing, we are still in the clutches of the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And who are we? We are the essence, without which Sattva, Rajas, Tamas cannot express. Where do the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas express? In the mind. Does the Sattva, Rajas, Tamas express in the Atma? Yes and no. Without Atma, without the self, mind cannot be. And Atma is pervading in and through the mind. When we say mind, self with thoughts is equal to mind, then yes, in that understanding. But if you consider yourself to be the Jivatma, then no. So long as the qualities of Rajas and Tamas are not got rid of, his faith remains feeble. Why Rajas and Tamas are not got rid of? Tamas is alasya, nidra, pramad. It's laziness, sleep, and inadvertence, repeating the same mistake again and again, mechanical. And Rajas leads to, Rajas is dynamism. Dynamism leads to agitation, restlessness, more desires, more thoughts, more anxiety, more regrets, more aspirations, more ambitions, more fear. Everything is more. In the end, it leads to agitations and restlessness. And as long as we are agitated and restless, as long as the waters of the ocean are agitated and restless, you cannot see the reflection of the moon. When they calm down, then alone the moon becomes available in the calm waters. Same is our case also. When our mind is agitated or restless, Brahman doesn't mean anything to us. Atma doesn't mean anything to us. We may listen to it 100 times. When we study the scriptures, the studies of scriptures have to be put into practice in our life. You have to reflect, you have to contemplate. And when these two things are done, if we have not it has not clicked while listening to the scriptures, then it must lead to direct experience. If our thinking is not leading to direct experience, instead it is creating more doubts, then our thinking is going wrong somewhere. Then our whatever we have heard, we have not translated into action in our daily life. And that usually happens spontaneously. But why it is not happening? Because we are not convinced of it completely. Because we have not approached what we are doing Shravan of with faith. We are not approaching the Atma by taking the support of the words of the scriptures with faith, with purification. And as long as Rajas and Tamas are there, actually all the three, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, are errors in our personality. It has to be removed. But we want symptoms, we want signs that we are evolving spiritually, that we are understanding. Yes, sab. All that is possible only when Rajas and Tamas quieten down. Then you don't have to do anything. You hear and the meaning erupts within your bosom spontaneously. Spontaneously. Just like some people need a recipe book to prepare a dish. Another person, no recipe book. Tatat, tatat. Yesterday I went to someone's bhiksha and he made the rasam and sambar. I'm mentioning he. What is the recipe? I don't know, Swamiji. He opens the masala box, dabba, and he also doesn't know what he's throwing. But every time it comes out perfectly. Spontaneous. Same way, as a result of purification, when we engage with the scriptures, the words in the Bhagavad Gita will have an immediate impact on our psyche initially. But as more purification happens, because now with a purified mind, rajas and tamas, you are more available. Then words in the scriptures, words in the mouth of the teacher bring about an immediate, spontaneous, you can use the words abidance, you can use the word at one ment, you can use the word in poise in the listener. And this does not happen because of the scriptures, it does not happen because of the teacher, it happens because of the availability of the student. And what is that qualification? His tamas and rajas have reduced greatly. See? So work towards that. Work towards reducing your agitations and restlessness, your judgments and biasness. That's why it is told that one must never speak of his past. More you talk about your past, the bigger the ego is. Because your ego is, what is the foundation of the ego? All past memories. Don't. There will be regrets. And the other factor is the future aspirations. That is another one. Live in the present moment. Calm, cool, content. So long as the qualities of rajas and tamas are not got rid of, his faith remains feeble. Then, meaning another way of looking at it, okay? We are only in half that sentence. What is another way? What is tamas? Tamas, it is deep sleep. What is rajas? It is dream. What is sattva? The waking state is the expression of sattva. So if you want to do your practices, you want to study, you want to engage, you want to put into your life, or you are sitting in the sadhana, Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Don't go to sleep, man. Majority people go to sleep in meditation. Or their body is still, but the mind is imagining many other things. Mouth is chanting the mantra, but the mind is on a reverie. Rajas. Sadhana can be practiced only in the waking state, only in the sattvic state, only in a mind which is free of rajas and tamas. Meaning you are in the present moment. In the present moment alone, you are calm, cool, collected. Another way of looking at the same point. So long as the qualities of rajas and tamas are not got rid of, his faith remains feeble. Then how could it remain fixed in the name of Brahman? If you can't even stay awake, you are falling into sleep or you are going into dreams. You can't even stay awake. Awake means being in the sattvic, in the waking state. How can you think of Brahman? Just as embracing a spear or running on a horizontally suspended rope or playing with a female cobra is fatal to life, so these actions are noxious as they lead to the insurmountable dangers of birth and death. See, if we are caught up in tamas and rajas, If you are caught up in past and future, if you are caught up in agitation, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, which are expressions of rajas, one is caught in the cyclical life. We have to shoot out. That shooting out, the basic requirement at the worldly existence level is come to the sattvic state. Coming to the sattvic state means rising above rajas and tamas. It continues, 66th verse. तैसी कर्मे दुवाढे तया जन्मांतराची कडे दुर्मेळावे येवढे कर्मा माझी नावे पाये हे उजू होय तरी ज्ञानाची योग्यता लाहे येरवी येण्याची जाये निरयालया कर्मी हा ठायवरी आहाती बहुवा अवसरी आता कर्मठा कैवारी मोक्षाची हे. तरी फिटो कर्माचा पांगू की जो अवघाची त्यागू आदरी जो अव्यंगू संन्यासू हा कर्म बाधेची का कही जेथ भयाची गोठी नाही ते आत्मज्ञान जिही स्वाधीन होय. Jnaneshwar Maharaj says, what? He says that just as embracing a spear or running on a horizontally suspended rope or playing with a female cobra is fatal to life, so these actions are noxious as they lead to the unsurmountable dangers of birth and death. Staying in rajas and tamas, as we said, keeps us in the loop of birth and death, keeps us in the loop of relativity. If luckily the actions are properly performed, when can you perform the actions properly? I am asking you all. When can you perform actions properly, correctly, righteously? Hello? When can we perform actions perfectly? Bolo? By dropping the doership. When can you drop the doership? Incomplete answer, but it's moving in that direction.
Sattvic state में.
Yeah.
Sattvic state में
वो तो मैंने बोल दिया. अगर वो बोलना था तो मैं बोल देता. When can we drop? Think outside the box. When? I'm asking you when. I'm asking, the question is, when can you drop the doership? Beena's question. Drop the doership. When?
When they are dedicated to God.
Yeah. So when can you be dedicated to God? My next question will be, when can you be dedicated to God?
When you are as one meant with the Lord.
When can you be at one mind with the Lord?
When the individual ego is dissolved.
When can the individual ego be dissolved? My question is still remaining when. You are giving me all data, but you are not coming to the main crux of the point. My question is when. What does the question when signify?
Now.
Thank you. देखा how quickly the mind it starts imagining all the data it has listened over the years. Listen to the question, when? Right here and now. When you are in the now, in the present moment, there is no past, there is no future. In the now, there is no doership. In the now, if you are really in the now, you are beyond sattva, rajas, tamas. Okay, if not beyond, if you are not beyond sattva also, at least you are beyond rajas and tamas. Tamas is laziness and rajas is thinking of the past and thinking of the future. It generates thoughts. When you are in the moment, in the now, no thoughts. Sattvic. See? So before we said waking state is an expression of sattva. Now we are fine tuning the sattva within the waking state. We are becoming more subjective. Whatever little bit of remnants of rajas or tamas are there in the waking state, that also we are sifting out. Chante hai na आटे को या किसी so we are even removing that. How do we remove? If I keep thinking about past and future, there will be no end. I don't know how much past is there and how much future is there. But the moment I come into the now, they are totally in toto taken care of. I don't have to work out the past and future. You understand? So Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying that if luckily the actions are properly performed, then they conduce to knowledge. Knowledge is not the book knowledge. Knowledge is not equal to what you are hearing. Knowledge is your nature. Everything else is second hand. But for us, thoughts are knowledge, words are knowledge, beautiful shlokas are knowledge. Rudram Chamakam, Narayana Suktam, Durga Suktam, Hanuman Chalisa, all this is knowledge. See how much knowledge is there. That is secondary knowledge. That is Aparavidya. That is lower knowledge. What is the higher knowledge? Where no words are utilized and yet the knowledge takes place. And what is that knowledge? That is your essential nature. That is the Atma Tattva. That is your essence. That is the substratum. That is the common denominator. That is Brahman. But we are lost in the knowledge. Which knowledge we are lost in? That which comes and goes. And that knowledge which comes and goes is only thought knowledge. So we are not, Jnaneshwar Maharaj is not talking about thought knowledge. He is talking about when he says, Om. If luckily the actions are properly performed, what happens if the actions are properly performed? When can the actions be properly performed? As Meenaji said, without doership, that can be possible only in the here and now. Okay, as in someone said, as an offering to the Lord, as an expression of the divine, a joyful expression, all these things, okay, all is okay. But as a, where are we? They conduce to knowledge. So this thought knowledge, this actions, because action, remember, it happens at three places, isn't it? The gross is kaya, the subtle is vacha, and the subtler is manasa. Thought, word and deed. These are the three places where action is taking place. And what are we doing? Action should be performed for what purpose? Purification of the deed. So karma, action at the body level is tamasic. Action at the speech level is rajasic. Action at the mental level is sattvic. And we have to go beyond these. We have to transcend these three. And how will we transcend? This is the topic we are doing in Amrut Anubhav, paying the debts of the four speeches. In other words, that we as a result, at any given moment, either we are thinking, we are speaking, or we are performing some action in the world. Perform it in such a way that every action comes and delivers us to ourselves. That those actions do not become a cause for more actions. It must lead to purification. It must lead, just like, how should I say, like a mother doing whatever actions she is doing, but her attention is always on the child. See? For a devotee, he may be eating, walking, going on a pilgrimage, going to work, but his attention is always on the Lord's name. So what is that devotee? He feels that all actions are performed by the divine who is expressing through him. That will be the ultimate, isn't it? For the devotee. But we are performing actions to please the Lord. No, don't do that. Actions are performed for only one. The principle of action is only one, to purify. Action of upasana or bhakti is only one, to dissolve the individuality. So here Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying that if luckily the actions are properly performed, then they conduce to knowledge, otherwise they lead to hell. So if you are performing wrong actions in the world, if you are maintaining your judgments about people, he is a good person, he is a bad person, he is a rich person, he is a poor person, I am a devotee and he is not a devotee, I am a yogi and he is not a yogi, I am a satsangi, others are stupid, I know it all, others don't know it, how lucky I am, others are not lucky. And we go through life instead of Allah taking the support of the action to purify the action, purify ourselves, we are engaging in action and creating more data. And what is the data? Like and dislike. That is the only thing. So, are our actions leading to reduction of likes and dislikes, or they are becoming the impetus to increase attachments and detachments, likes and dislikes? Think. Now this we have to, I can't make anyone aware of this, I can only share, but we have to put it into, that is called yukti. Yukti means application. Yeah, shruti means listening. Yukti means application. Anubhuti means experience. Not experiencing the world, not experiencing the action. Anubhuti is experiencing the self. So what is this application in the world? Application in the world of what we have heard in the scriptures is so that not to establish the world, but to recognize that this world is existing in its own absence, so no second thought is given to the world. In spite of the world, we remain the substratum that we are. But we take our children to be real, we take our jobs to be real, we take our past to be real, we take our health to be real, and dig a big hole for ourselves. So here if luckily the actions are properly performed, then they conduce to knowledge. At a lower level, if actions are properly performed, purification has happened, then even this knowledge that you are listening or engaging in, this the आदान प्रदान जो चल रहा है, that you are listening and Jnaneshwar Maharaj is speaking. You don't have to come to this topic second time. In one go, whatever Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying, it will click. Then we don't have to go back to again, acha, kya hua? That was very interesting thought that Swamiji was giving and Jnaneshwar Maharaj was giving. Oh, I have to listen to it again, I'll go in. Why not in one go you understand and get over? Why did it not happen? Because purification is not there. And this is not to judge anyone. What we are just now saying is not to judge anyone. This is how the individual functions. The reason is that things don't click to him in one go is because of his impurity. The more pure he is, the more clicks will happen. Because the more purification is there, more the integration of personality is there. Mind and intellect are not running in two different directions. Mind and intellect are synchronized. The Ida and Pingala are synchronized. The yin and yang are synchronized as a result of purification. And how does purification come? By proper actions. When can the proper action be done? In the here and now, not in the past or future. And how can it be done in the here and now? If we have not recognized the here and now as an offering to the Lord. Or as an expression of the Lord. How many different ways we can express this? But we have to become available. Otherwise they lead to hell, agitations, restlessness, laziness. Hell keeps us in the loop of ignorance. Then further growth will not take place. Then such people, I don't know why I was born. So just live for the day, man. Who knows what is there tomorrow? These are called Charvakas. This is the Charvak philosophy. They take the material. I don't know why I came, why I was born. I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen afterwards. I only know this life. And what is this life? My aspirations, my wife, my children, my job, my investments, my house. Only what is happening here, that's it. What about liberation? I don't know liberation. I am not interested in it. They are not open to other possibilities. The higher, not other possibility, the higher possibility. For them, for these Charvakas, what they see is real. If something is beyond form, it's unreal. Something is imaginary, it's unreal. There are many obstacles in the successful execution of work. So how can a man of action get his chance to attain liberation? It would be therefore better to abandon all actions altogether in order to get rid of the suffering resulting from action and adopt faultless renunciation. Renunciation does not mean running away from action. Renouncing action means not getting disturbed by the action, or in spite of the action, ever remaining in the poise of the self or of the higher. Renunciation is not a physical act. You run away from the difficult wife and go to Himalayas. You think she'll leave you there? You find a nice cave which is far away from humanity, wear a langot, go on a fast. I'm not going to think of world, I'm not going to think of my children, I'm not going to think of my wife, I'm not going to think of food. You may say all those things. These are all prarambha shur. They begin with a great oomph, and the moment he closes his eyes, the wife comes and stands in front of him. And instead of meditating on the truth, he is meditating on the wife, meditating on the children, meditating on the nice doona that he left behind in Australia. Now he is in the cave with only langot and no blanket also. See, this is not renunciation. This is escapism. Renunciation is an attitude of the mind. And here it is told, Jnaneshwar Maharaj said, it would be therefore better to abandon all actions altogether in order to get rid of the suffering. Wherever there is action, there is suffering. I did not use the word activity. Wherever there is action. What does action denote? Wherever there is doership. Wherever there is doership, there is suffering. Buddhism says sarvam dukkham, sarvam dukkham. No. Sanatan Dharma, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita doesn't say everything is dukkham, dukkham. We say everything is Satchidanandam. Everything is bliss. Everything is joy. Because that's our essential nature. Who will say dukkham, dukkham? Whose attention is on the relative. He will say that is dukkham, and that is true. Relative only can give you misery and bondage. It can only give you misery and bondage. So, renunciation, here, what? Better to abandon all actions altogether. Where is action happening? Is it happening in the deep sleep? No. Is it happening in the dream? But I know dream is an imagination, so that doesn't affect you. So you are having this doership mostly in the waking state, isn't it? Now you have to read the first few chapters. You will understand how it's only activity, and drop the doership. How can you drop the doership? Perform the actions for the divine. What will happen? Oh, first it was perform the actions without expecting a result, without expecting the fruit of the action. Purification will happen. As a result of that purification, you will recognize that the action is not important. The attitude behind the action is important. What will happen? From gross you have moved to subtle. Attitude is in the mind. Action is, your attention initially is only on the gross actions that are taking place. As a result, what will happen? You will see action in inaction and inaction in action. at the same time. And what will be the result of that? The result of that will be that you will neither run away from activity nor you will seek activity, because you have recognized activity and inactivity are complementary. Activity, waking and dream; inactivity, sleep. Where is this working out going on? In the waking state. So now you are not disturbed by the sleep, you are not disturbed by waking or dream. And if they come, so be it. But I am aloof. I am not affected by what is going on in the waking, dream and sleep. Therefore, this thought, where it was presented, Karma Sannyasa Yoga, in the 5th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. When we have renounced all karma, that is what here Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying. No? Then the next chapter comes Dhyana Yoga. Then we have qualified for meditation. So here Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying that it would be better to abandon all actions altogether in order to get rid of the suffering. So continuously remaining in the cycle of waking, dream, deep sleep, waking, dream, deep sleep, waking, dream, deep sleep. This is cyclical action, isn't it? Activity or action, whatever you say. It is suffering. You sit on the seat of meditation, you want to know self. Instead, you go somewhere, you wake up from meditation, and you still find everything to be the world. That tariki, another opportunity missed. Why? You had gone to sleep, not meditation. But you feel that you were meditating. If you are meditating and you touch the self, you only need to touch the self. Be the self once, not every day. So if you are not dissolved completely on the seat of meditation, then where were you? Somewhere imaginary. So just as waking, dream and deep sleep are imaginary, so also samadhi is also imaginary only. Oh my God, I wasted my life. I am 70 years old now, 60 years old now. I have been practicing meditation every day. You must continue to practice meditation, no doubt. But your approach should be this. The right angle of approach has to be there. In order to get rid of the suffering resulting from action and adopt faultless renunciation. Again, what is renunciation? Renunciation is giving up of the three ashnas, as I said before: putreshna, vitteshna, lokeshna. Renunciation is giving up not of activity. Renunciation is giving up of the doership. You cannot stop activity because you did not create the activity. Activity is happening at the equipment level. You did not create the equipment. Who created? Your parents created. Let them suffer. Then what do? You watch activity going on. That's what Dattatreya Maharaj, just now Datta Jayanti went. What was the Dattatreya's teaching? He said the whole universe is my guru. That he comprised, in the book it comes as 24 gurus. From the snake I learned, never run after and exhaust yourself for food. Sit wherever you are. Food will automatically come. So what does a snake do? He keeps his mouth open and stay. A curious cat comes, the moment he enters into the mouth, food. He did not go anywhere. And like this, so many different examples he gave of the pigeon, of the tree, of the space, of the water, of the Vaishya. In other words, every moment some experience is taking place in us, some interaction with the world is going on, something the world is throwing at us. Are we learning from it? Every day waking is coming. Have we learned from the day? Or we are living the day in default, with default settings? Have we moved closer? Have we become more purified? Have we performed actions today in the waking more diligently as an offering to the Lord? Om Tat Sat. Or we are again in the default mode? Continuing, now he says in the 71st OV, ज्ञानाचे आवाहन मंत्र जे ज्ञान पिकते सुक्षेत्र ज्ञान आकर्षिते सूत्र तंतु जे का ते दोन्ही संन्यास त्याग अनुष्ठूनी सुटे जग तरी हेची आता चांग व्यक्त पुसो ऐसे म्हणूनी पार्थे त्याग संन्यास व्यवस्थे रूप होआवया जेथे प्रश्नु केला तेथ प्रत्युत्तरे बोली श्रीकृष्णे जे चावळिली तया व्यक्ती झाली अष्टादशा एवं जन्य जनक भावे अध्यावो अध्यायाते प्रसवे आता ऐका बरवे पुसिले जे. He says, renunciation and relinquishment are the two paths which are free from the fear of being affected by actions and which conduce to knowledge. Relinquishment, what is relinquishment? Who can give dan? Who can give someone something? Who feels there is abundance? Who can give up? Who has come to realize that there is nothing in this world he can ever catch? Only he will give up. That is giving up, isn't it? Relinquishment. Relinquishment is he has come to this realization that he cannot catch anything. Or at a lower level, that there is abundance, there is no fear of security, there is no fear of survival. So give and forget. Give and forget. Relinquish means something that you are holding on to, now you are relinquishing it. So there is a bit of doership, thinking is involved there. Sometimes relinquishing can be, I don't want to give, but I'll let it go. See? We are at a drop of a hat, without second thought, we are able to give whatever we have for our children. Why we are able to give? Because they are mine. So if the world is yours, then will you hesitate to give anything that you own, that you possess, that you cherish? So relinquish is something that you have and you are giving away. Renunciation is recognition that nothing is ours. Therefore, thought also will not come to give, to relinquish. So here it says, renunciation and relinquishment are the two paths which are free from the fear of being affected by actions and which conduce to knowledge. Again, relinquishment of actions. Lead to purification. And who is a sannyasi? Who is already beyond the three desires. So, nothing to give up. Nothing to give up. Only alertness is required not to get caught up again for a sannyasi. Whereas a doer, if there is sannyasi a doer? No. It's very high state of disengagement from everything. Whereas relinquishment is where little bit of doership is still there. And both are conducive to knowledge. Why? They lead to a calm mind. They do not lead to agitation. They do not, both dispositions do not lead to restlessness. A person who is smoking or drinking, when he relinquishes drinks or smoke, my friend Sardarji in Newcastle, whole life he's been drinking since he started working. Swami Narayan, one Swami from Swami Narayan, he came to his friend's house and he had invited him, so he went in, came late, and the moment he entered, the Swamiji asked, what do you give up? Everyone has given up something. Everyone has relinquished something. What do you give up that you love? At that moment, Sardarji, he said, I give up alcohol. Otherwise, every night a beer or some drink to calm down. But from that day, now it's almost 5 years, he has not touched or had one drop of alcohol. That commitment is free. They are incantations of invocation to knowledge, or are the fields of growing knowledge, or are the very ropes for hauling up knowledge. So I should request the Lord to explain which of these two paths can bring salvation. Jnaneshwar Maharaj is saying, should we relinquish or should we renounce? Both of them lead to the same, to knowledge, but which is higher? So people chant, people invoke knowledge, and sometimes like we are hauling up knowledge means we are raising ourselves from the lower to the higher. We are raising ourselves from the Mooladhara to the Sahasrara. This is going higher and higher. Before I was ignorant, now I am knowledgeable. Before I did not understand anything, now I understand. Is that our goal? No. But wherever there is purification, these things automatically happen. And Jnaneshwar Maharaj is asking, which one is better? So I should request the Lord to explain which of these two paths can bring salvation. Does relinquishment of action bring salvation, or renunciation of action bring salvation or realization? Deliberating like this, Arjuna asked Lord Krishna to enlighten him about the nature of these two. Chapter 18 contains the reply of the Lord to this question of Arjuna. In this way, according to the law of cause and effect, one chapter gives birth to another. Till how long will this continue? Till all the doubts are resolved once and for all. And in this manner, so this topic is about renunciation and relinquishment. Which is better? Which is more conducive to knowledge? Now listen well to the question which Arjuna asked, what the Lord said at the end of the last chapter made Arjuna sad. What did the Lord say in the last chapter towards the end? That you have to perform all actions as an offering to the Lord, isn't it? So now we'll see. We'll see where Arjuna, what is that final straw that Arjuna needs to transcend. To whom such a question will come? Same Arjuna, in the beginning of the second chapter, after having said, Shishyasteham Shadhim Amtam Prapannam, I am your disciple, I am your devotee. And then in the next verse he continues to reiterate that all the conclusions that I came and narrated in the first chapter, I still hold on to them. I still think my conclusion was correct. That war should not be fought, people will die. Should a brother kill a brother, there will be Narasankara. Why should I go to hell by killing all these? My guru and my teacher and my grandfather, etc., etc. He says, I am your disciple and devotee. Yet he continues to hold on to his belief system. Aren't we doing the same? But Arjuna has transformed. Now he is not talking about going to hell. He is not talking about rebirth. He is not talking about the Lord. He is not talking about show me where you are in this universe. He is not talking about meditation. He is not talking about, no, he is talking about his quality of questions has, compared to the second chapter to 18th chapter, there is a big leap in his understanding. If we have been listening to Bhagavad Gita for last 4 or 5 years, I don't know how many years it's been going on. Have we grown? Are our quality of questions of a higher caliber? Not because we read some book. The higher caliber can be a very simple question. But if that question is asked and that question is coming as a result of self-contemplation, genuine, not because you have collected data, not because you have read many books or listened to many masters. But when a question is asked because we have analyzed ourselves subjectively, and in that analysis of who am I, still that's what happened, no? In the 15th chapter, Krishna came to know who is the Purushottam, the Uttama Purush, the Supreme Person. Who is it? He came to understand that it is the Self. He says, I understand the Self, but my mind is not staying with it. My mind is not absorbed in it. It's still flitting about. Why am I not able to remain steady in the Uttama Purusha? That's how the 16th chapter began. And there it was told, Daivi Sampatti and Asuri Sampatti, that the mind is agitated in these good thoughts and bad thoughts. They are the, in that sense it was, that whole chapter was. Now I understood Devi is better. I have to go beyond Devi, and first I have to go beyond Asuri dissolve the Asuri and then dissolve the Devi also. But why is it not going away? Then also you lack Shraddha. 17th chapter. That's why it's not going away. I'm just giving you a total, just in a nutshell, in one word, and another angle of approach. Because you don't have faith, that's why it is not happening. Now that I have faith, merely by listening, everything is happening here. Now what? We'll understand his question again in detail in our next class and see the response of our Krishna Bhagwan to this question, which comprises of the 18th chapter. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Wish you all a wonderful joyful, full of inspiration, a new year 2021.
I hope so.
Why hope?
Happy New
Why hope? Still hoping. Live it. Live it, live it, live it.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om Prabhu.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Take care. Party hard now. Party hard. The night is still young.
Okay.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om Bodh. Hari Om.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om. Hari Om. Hari Om.
Hari Om and